Hello friends, today we shall talk about custom authentication in Django. So by default, Django already provides a system of authentication which is good in most cases, but there are many cases in which we require a custom authentication. So it is very important you should know about custom authentication. In many cases we use email as our username, but by default Django doesn't support email as the username. You can see that in Django by default we use just a simple value as a simple string, just a name of the user as the username, or just a simple string as the username in Django. So it is important that we should have some facility to create a custom authentication, or we need to create some custom fields in our uh, user table, so that you should be able to customize our project depending on our needs. So by default, when you start a new project in Django and do the migration, and if you check the database, you will see that a table with name auth underscore user is already created, uh, which helps the Django to authenticate the user. And in this table the user information like username and password is saved. So we can create a custom table there. To create a custom table with our own custom name and with our own custom fields or columns, we need to define a custom user model. So we need to define a custom user model, and I want to make sure you know about the database model. So what is a database model in Django? Database model is nothing but a Pythonic way to communicate with the tables in the database. A database model is a Python class which has attributes which correspond to the fields of the columns, which provide some methods to read the tables, to delete the rows, to update the rows. So some methods are already defined, and we don't need to pass the SQL queries. So we just defined Python classes which act as database models, which help us in communication with the database tables. So in this video we shall analyze how we can create a custom user model and how we can use email as the username. So it is essential that if you want to create a custom user model, don't do the migration please. Just start a fresh new project, or uninstall. If you already installed the Django, uninstall it, install it freshly, create a fresh virtual environment, install Django freshly. And if you have already done the migration, just drop the database, recreate it, and reinstall your Django. Because to create the custom user model, it is important that the initial migration should include the custom user model, so that all the base tables are created in the database. So let us start. Let us first define the custom user model. So we have one app, test one underscore app, which I have already created in our previous videos. And we have now a models.py file which is already there, the default file for models. And we shall define our custom user model here. Let us import some uh, Python classes, some classes which help us in authentication. So just import it. uh, I'm importing this, and these are the classes: abstract base user and permission, mix in. So these are some classes you need to import, and just create your own class for the custom user model. Type a meaningful name. I am typing users, and type the imported classes here. So the abstract base user class will provide all the essentials to define our custom user model. This class already contains some methods which help us to set the username, to set the password in the way Django requires, and permission mixing help us to set all the permission systems for our custom user model, so that we can assign different authorization techniques or permissions for the users using our custom user model. If you like, you can just right click here and go to definition, which contained the definition for the abstract base user class. It has some attribute like password, last underscore login, and you can see here different methods are already defined here. So I am closing this now and just focusing our custom model. Just defined a comment here. It is our custom user model, and you need to define some class attributes here which will act as fields. So first attribute is a email. Just type here model dots. It is a email field. It is a class attribute, but it will corresponds to the email column in our table. So let it be unique, because the username should be unique, and email will act as the username in our custom user model. Okay, so define some other fields. You can define some fields like first underscore name or any other fields you like, depending uh, on your project. Cur field, we will save first name as a string, so we are using cur field. And define a max length. You can define a suitable length for, and just define null is equal to true and blank equal to true. By default, we don't require any data here, so we can uh, enter data afterwards. After the username has been created, you can ask user to provide their first name and last name, or you can get it in any way you want. You can create a registration form which help us to get the required information which you like. So these are some three fields we have defined. Let us define some other fields like is underscore active, which will help us to know if the user is already active. Just define a boolean field here. Boolean field stands for true or false. As a data type, it will accept true or false. So by default it will accept a value true. All the user will be active. By default it is created. Whenever it is created, it will become as an active user. So define some other fields also. Is underscore staff. This field is important if you want to run the admin app which is already there in the Django. So please define this field, otherwise there will be issues when you run your admin panel. So it will be a boolean field, and default will be false, and there should be another field like is underscore super user, which which will tell us if the user is a super user having all the permissions. It will be boolean field, and default will be false. So you can also define some other field like date underscore joined when the user become the member of our system. So date time field, get a date time field here and just get a default value here. Let me get some function uh, Django.utils and so from here you can import. I'm importing time zone and we will get the correct information for the time. So you can define like this, and after that define some other parameters like username underscore field, which will be the username, email will be the username. So we will tell Django that email will be the username now, and define some required fields. You can put required fields here which are actually required, but email and password is already required. Password will be automatically defined by our base class abstract base user, so you don't need to put email and password field here. If there is some required field you can put here. For some other fields we have already entering the default values here. So now define some other methods. Just type return and just type self dot email. So this method will help us to list our email address when we query our model users in command line. So let us define some other method here, property, and define get underscore name, and this will help us to get the full name. Just type return self dot first name, and this will help us to get the full name. So it is good to define like this. You can also define other methods if you like. So these are some methods which I have defined, and you can also define a meta class here. Meta class change the behavior of the main class. So just type class meta here and pass a variable, pass attribute like db underscore table, and type users here. So this is the name of the table which will be created in our database. You can also enter some other parameters, other attribute like name underscore 12. This parameter mainly used to display the proper user model in the admin panel. Okay, so we are entering here. So this is the custom user model which we have already defined. We have created the essential fields which we will like to be there in our custom user model or in our database table which will be created. So after that we shall define uh, a user manager class which will help us to create user using this custom user model. So we have created the custom user model, and now to create a user manager we need to create a new file in the same app test1 underscore app. Right click and create a file with any name, uh, usersmanager.py. So import some classes which will help us to create the user manager, which will define some function to create users. So let's import the base class base user model and create our own class custom user manager, and just give the base user manager class here and give a comment here. It is our custom user manager which will use to manage users for our custom user model. So define some function here. First function will be create underscore user, which will be used by Django to create a user in our custom model. So we need parameter like email, and again we need password, and user can also provide some extra fields here. So just type like this to create an user. So you can type any comment here or just define a condition here. If not email, and if email is not provided, and you can return a error here, value error. So to format the message properly, I need to import a method here, Django.utils, Django.translation, and just import get text underscore lazy here, and just use it as an underscore and put it here, and this will help us to format our message properly if we are using Django in different languages. So just put it here, and user the email must be set. You can define a message like this, and again define some other methods here like email equal to self dot normalize underscore email. It will sanitize our email. If email contains some upper or capital letters, it will uh, uh, turn all the letters into lower cases. So this method should be used, and again define some other parameters like self dot model, and you need to import email here, and you need to import the extra fields here, and just type user dot set underscore password, which will be used to save the password in encrypted form, and just type user dot save here, and just return user here. So you need to define like this, and this is the code for create underscore user. So let us create another method, create underscore super user, and define all the required parameters here, email, password, and extra underscore fields, and you can type a comment here to create a super user, and you can pass some default here, like type extra underscore fields dot set default, like is underscore staff should be true for super user, and extra underscore field set default uh, is underscore super user should be true for super user. And you can also confirm that everything is entered correctly if extra fields dot get is underscore staff is not true. If this parameter is not true, if is underscore staff is not true, just raise a value error here. Just raise a value error. Super user, let me correct it. Super user must have is underscore staff as true, and yeah, you can define yet another verification. Just check also the is underscore super user, just check it. If it is not true, and we need to raise a value error here, just raise a value error here. Let me quickly type the message. Super user must have is underscore super user as true. So you can give this message, and if everything is fine, just return and create the super user self dot create underscore user, which function which already we have defined. This function will be used to create the user. Just pass email, password, and fields. So we have already defined our methods for our user manager, which will be used for our custom user model to create a simple user, and uh, to create a super user. So I think it is fine now. Let us use this user manager in our model. Just go to here and import what we have created. Just type dot users managers and import the manager, which is custom user manager, and tell this model to use the manager. Just type here objects, just type objects here, and import the custom user custom user manager. Just save the file. So we have defined our user manager, and we have tell our custom user model, so that we have already made the entry, so that our model should use the our custom user manager. So we also need to tell Django that Django should use our custom user model. So just go here in settings.py and type a variable auth underscore user model, which will tell the Django which model should be used for authentication. You need to first type the app name. App name is test1 underscore app, which contains our this app contains our custom user model. Then type the name of the model, which is users. Name of the model is users, which we have already defined. So just type here, and after that you can run the server to check if everything is going on. Just run it. So you can see there is some error. Let me check what is the error and let me correct it. So in order to get rid of this error, we need to do migration. So just clear it and do the migration. Just type a command python.manage.py and type here make migration, which will tell the user about the new model which we have created. Just type make migration, and you can see that Django has detected that we have created a user model. Then just type the migrate here. Migrate will create the actual table in the database. So you can see that yeah, everything has launched successfully, and you can run the server now, and server is running, and you can check the database now. Let me check the database. Let me refresh it, and you can see the custom user model is already created, and just check the columns contain the password field and fields which I have already created, and you can just open the table. So you can also see there is an ID column which is automatically created by the Django, and this contain the primary key for the table, and it will have the increment integer field. It is increment integer field. Only integer will be theirs, and it will act as the primary key for our table. So this id field is automatically created. You don't need to create it. So every table should contain a primary key. This id field act as the primary key for our table users, and there are also some other tables which will use to manage permission. This will use to manage the groups. This will use to manage the user permissions. So, and we can also test it. We can create a user. We can test it by creating a super user. Let us create a super user so that we can log into our admin panel. Just type a command create super user, and you can see Django is asking for email now because email will act as the username. To just type a email here, admin at the rate of example.com. I am typing just a fake one, and in a real situation you can type a valid email address, and just type the password here. Just type a complicated password here, and I am typing a password here, and we have successfully created a super user here. So let us run the server now. Super user have been created. Uh, so let us check our site. This is a default page, and just try to open the admin panel. It is asking for email instead of normal username. So just type the email here, admin at the rate of example.com. So you can type the password here and just log in here. You can see that there is one groups model which is listed here, and you can see that the user model is not listed here. So if you want the user model should be listed here, so that you can add the user from the admin panel. So for this, just go to the Visual Studio Code, and just inside our app test1_app, just open the file admin.py, and you need to first import the model. Just import the model which is your custom model. This is the custom model, and you need to define a class. Just define a class here with any name, and just type a parent class here, model admin. This will help us to register our user model in the admin panel. Define which field you want to show there. You can define like email. We want to show the email. We want to first underscore name, and we want to show the last underscore name, and we want to show the date underscore joined, and we want to show is underscore active, or is underscore staff, or is underscore super user. So these are some which we want to show here. Again, you need to register here. Just type admin.site.register, and just define the users model, and just type the class which you have created, and just save the file. You have saved, yes, there is no error, and just we will check it and refresh it, and you can see there is some problem here. 1 minute. It is showing now. You can see that the user's model is being shown here, and with the code which we have defined in our admin panel. This was code which we have defined here, and it is shown here. So just type just click here, and you can see that this is the user which you have already created, and you can also add user here, and this is a super user. You can add a new user here. You can type your password here, and you can type your email address here, first name, last name, and you can just click on save, and you can just create new users here in our admin panel, and you can also set some permissions here. I shall make another video on permission and groups. So this was mainly to teach you how to create a custom user model, and we have already successfully created a custom user model, and we can create a new users also from the admin panel. So I think you have liked my video. Like it, and subscribe my channel. Thank you very much for watching the video. Thank you and good luck.